أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وخير المرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. Amma ba'd, my respected brothers and sisters, my elders and learned scholars, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam. It's the second night in which our master Imam Ali alayhi salam has been wounded. And a second night for us to revisit the chapters of history and take a look at what it is that Ali had achieved and why we are grieved for his passing away. What is it that humanity has lost in these nights? It's not just the Muslims, it's not just the Shia. This personality is so great, his mercy is so vast, his knowledge is so deep and profound that truly we are at loss as a race and not just as a faith. So without further ado, we will look at some of the great moments in the life of this great personality known as Ali ibn Abi Talib. In his honor, the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Picture, if you will, the lowest point of the human race, where children are buried at birth because they are simply born as females. Try to imagine the level of ignorance where because you are born black, you are enslaved. Where if you are born to a family that is neither powerful nor rich, you must spend the remaining time of your life in this planet as a servant, as a downtrodden individual, as a weakling, and a person who, no matter what you may achieve, it is the name of your family that determines your success. Such was the Arabian Peninsula. It was the worst place on planet Earth before the advent of Prophet Muhammad. And God, in His infinite wisdom and His absolute knowledge, wanted to show humanity that if we tie our fate to the fate that He has ordained for us, and if we submit ourselves to His destiny, then the lowest of humanity can be the best of humanity. And therefore, when He sent the seal of prophets and the final messenger and the last option and opportunity for humanity to re-establish and rekindle that relationship with the heavens, He sent Prophet Muhammad to the worst of the people, to show them that if I send the best of my people to the worst of your people, I can still make you better than what you are. Because if Allah had sent Prophet Muhammad to a part of the world where humanity had already established some form of spiritual emancipation, then the people of Arabia and the generations that will come later on will say, well, religion cannot really do anything for us because these people were good enough as it was. But Allah sent Muhammad to the worst of the worst. And from them, history testifies that some of the best personalities have come forward. Some of the best knowledge has come forward. The science of the clock and the mechanics and the wheel all came from the Arabian Peninsula, from the Islamic world, whereas before that there was no remembrance for these people. Algebra and chemistry, born in the cradle of civilization in Iraq. But the cradle of civilization was not producing anything for a long period of time until Islam came to it. So Allah was indicating to us that I am sending you a great personality who will uplift humanity. But this personality needed help, needed assistance. When the mission is so great, the support must also be great. I remind you all of one incident whereby Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, looks to his companions and says to them, do you want to see the determination of Abraham and the strength and resolution of Moses and the humility and the piety of Jesus, son of Mary? Do you want to see them all embodied within one character? They said, indeed we do. So he says to them, look to the one who is mending or who is fixing my sandals. And they look, and there sitting beneath a tree is the young, handsome Ali ibn Abi Talib. In his hand is the sandal of Rasulullah, and he is fixing it. Now you see, from the outset it may not seem as much, but it is much. Because when we dissect this incident, we can recognize two things. That first of all, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him and on his progeny, is reminding the people that the religion of Islam is not a new religion, but rather it is an extension and the perfection of the religions that came before it. That what Muhammad is saying is no different to what Jesus spoke. And it is no difference to the desires of Moses and no difference to the desires of Abraham. That we as Muslims should not look at people of other faith and say, you will go to hell and you will go to hell and only Muslims will go to paradise, as is the state of affairs in this day and age. Whereby we have seen some Muslims subscribe to an ideology that tells them they can enter paradise by committing an atrocity such as September 11th. That they can kill their fellow human beings based on their subscription to a particular faith and claim that this is their salvation and this shall attain for them eternal bliss and a place with Abraham and Moses and Jesus and Muhammad. How dare you bring forward such fabrications and such lies and label them as the religion of Muhammad, when Muhammad constantly praised the followers of Jesus and Moses and the followers of anyone who subscribed to an ideology that we do good towards humanity in order to attain the pleasure of the master of humanity, the creator of humanity, the Lord of humanity. Otherwise, why would Rasulullah tell the people, do you want to see someone who has already attained the piety of Jesus and the determination of Ibrahim and the resolution of Musa? Because we must aspire to be like those individuals. And we must not label them as the teachers of Christianity and Judaism and whatever religion it may be. And we must not even label Muhammad as the teacher of Islam. We must label each and every single one of them as the masters of humanity, as the perfection of humanity. And we must take lessons from them wherever we may find them. That is lesson number one to be taken from this hadith. Lesson number two is that other than Ali, nobody else came to realize this truth. As an example, if I am an athlete, if I play tennis or golf, or if I play basketball or soccer, or football as we call it in the United Kingdom, when I go to pick a pair of shoes or sneakers or trainers, I must pick the correct ones for the correct sport. I don't buy sneakers for tennis if I intend to play basketball, because they serve a different purpose. So I must buy the correct equipment. Rasulullah, Allah has sent him as a final messenger to mankind, as the ultimatum. And he, according to his very own testimony, says, there is no prophet who has suffered like me ever. So the road is long and difficult with many trials and tribulations. And therefore he needs to wear the correct sandals for this mission. He needs the correct equipment. And therefore he goes to the only other individual who can understand how difficult this road is. There is only one other person who knows the mission of prophethood. There is only one other person who knows how tough the road will be. So he knows exactly the type of sandals Rasulullah needs. And therefore he mended them with his own hands, the sandals of Nubuwwah, by the hands of Imam. Sallu ala Muhammad. Otherwise Rasulullah could have made his own sandals. But he wants the world to know that there is only one individual who can appreciate the mission which I am about to undertake and the difficulties that I shall face, and he shall make for me adequate the equipment that I need. And Ali rendered a service to Rasulullah that no other individual in the chapters of history from the Muslim world and the non-Muslim world can even begin to fathom. We cannot understand Ali ibn Abi Talib. If you want to talk about selflessness, he was selfless. If you want to talk about determination, he was determined. If you want to talk about realization, then he is the embodiment of the message of La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. On the night of Hijrah, when Rasulullah had to abandon his hometown of Mecca. For those of you who are not fully aware of the historical context, allow me to highlight to you just some of the incident, so you may realize how great the situation is. Muhammad comes forward and tells the people of Arabia that it is no longer permissible for you to bury your daughters. He challenges this ideology. An ideology which said at the time that a woman can only bring shame to the family. She can bring nothing else to the family. And in order to save ourselves from this shame, we must bury her alive. That a woman cannot be of any benefit to this house. So therefore, why spend my wealth sustaining her and nourishing her only for somebody else to take her as a wife? And then I will see nothing from her. So the woman was the first victim of this society. And Muhammad comes forward and he says, there is a place called paradise. And everybody was eager about paradise. And they wanted to know how to attain paradise. And he described it in all its pomp and glory, all its manifestations, all its beauty. Rivers of heavenly champagne, the gardens of Eden, fruits and food as your heart desires, women of exquisite beauty, servants in abundance. For you is what you may desire. You do not even need to think it, you just desire it, and it shall manifest itself. And the people of Arabia, who were known for their greed, wanted paradise. And they said, how do we attain this place? He said, it is beneath the feet of that very woman who you say is not worthy of being alive. Honor her, give her her rights, and you shall enter paradise. Because the first person who will testify on the day of judgment against each and every one of us will be the women in our lives. It will be the mother and how you honored her, your daughter and how you provide for her, your wife and how you loved her, your sister and how you provided sincere advice to her and you never saw her as subservient to yourself. You always saw her as an equal. The rights of a sister is the rights of Zainab on Hussain alayhi salam. The rights of a mother is the rights of Hassan and Hussein on Fatima. The rights of a wife is Khadija to Muhammad and Fatima to Ali. The rights of a daughter is Fatima to Muhammad. I challenge you to tell me that in these relationships, tell me in one incident where these women were felt subservient or made to feel subservient. And I will tell you that Islam is a religion that says we must oppress our women. But not the Shia faith. No, far be it from that. We owe our entire existence to the existence of a woman. We read in Hadith al-Kisa, Allah says, indeed, I only created the heavens and the earth and all that is within them for the love of these five. When the angels inquire, O Allah, who are these five? He says, it is Fatima and her father, Fatima and her husband, Fatima and her children. He does not say Muhammad and his daughter, or Ali and his wife, or Hassan and Hussein and their mother. No. All the men, all the great men and the great existence is recognized by the existence of one woman, by the existence of Fatima to Zahra. In her honor, the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So Rasulullah comes to change the status quo. And he tells the people that the slave is now no longer a black man who is to be enslaved. That if you use the word abd as a derogatory term, if you use the word slave to cuss or to make mockery of an individual, the equivalent of that word today in our societies is the word, and allow me to say it without any racial connotation, is the word Negro. That was a word which was used to address the slaves, and to this day it is used as a derogatory term. Black on blacks is being used, and non-blacks can use it. But it is used when you want to insult an individual. You remind them of the past in which they were nothing but objects of slavery. So Rasulullah comes forward, and he wants to reform this situation which existed in that time. I find it quite ironic that the world wants to hold America and its people as the only people who ever owned slaves, and is as if that they should be the only ones who apologize for slavery. No, because when we look at the chapters of history, the Muslims also partook in the slave trade. That slave triangle which we are taught about in school, who do you think was the traders? Who do you think owned most of the fleets? Read history, and you will find that there were Muslim traders. So we cannot hold the American people and blame them simply and say that they had a past of racism. No, we also had a past of racism. And their past of racism and our past of racism, funny enough, both came, one under the pretext of Christianity and the other one under the pretext of Islam. But that is because both of us have abandoned the ideals of these two great religions. But if we return to these great religions, which are one and the same, we shall find that there is no place for slavery. Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and his progeny comes forward. And he tells them that you make mockery of the black man by calling him abd, by calling him slave. So if you want to believe in Allah and you want His paradise and you wish for His forgiveness, you must bear witness to two things. La ilaha illallah wa Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. I testify that there is no God except one who is worthy of being worshipped, and that Muhammad is the slave and the prophet. He favored the word slave over the word prophet. Abduhu wa rasuluh. If you want to look at a black man and say, you are a abd, you are a Negro, you are a slave, then the black man can turn around and say with pride, the best of Allah's creation is a abd. He is a slave and he is the equivalent of the word Negro. Muhammad was the slave of Allah before he became the messenger of Allah. So I take pride in being called a abd because you have put me on the same pedestal as the greatest man to have ever visited this world. To challenge such an ideology and to bring about such reform, you need an individual who is able to stand by your side and not complain once from the suffering and the pain, and suffer like you suffer, and be the first to render you service. And such was Ali ibn Abi Talib. The people of Arabia wanted to be done with Muhammad. They wanted to kill him. But you see, Arabia had its own set of rules which told you that you cannot simply kill a man and be done with it. No. There was blood money to be paid. And there was tribal warfare that will ensue. And amongst all of the people of Quraysh, there were no braver warriors than the warriors of Bani Hashim. Bani Hashim were known to be the most generous and the kindest. And it is this generosity and kindness that made them lions of war. Because it was their generosity that did not allow them to see injustice take place and say we are afraid of death. No, they would contend with death in order that others are not oppressed. And this selflessness and kindness and generosity made them valiant warriors in the battlefield. And everybody feared them. And Muhammad belonged to this family. So when the people of Quraysh said, let us kill Muhammad, they said, no tribe wants to go to war with the tribe of Bani Hashim. So if we kill him, we will be annihilated. We need to find a solution. So Satan comes in the form of an elderly man and he tells them, the only way to kill Muhammad and not suffer the sword of Bani Hashim is that you all come together and send forward a youth from every tribe and you attack Muhammad at one time. That way Bani Hashim cannot prove anyone had the fatal blow. They cannot say for sure this tribe gave Muhammad the fatal blow and therefore they are responsible for his death. So Bani Hashim cannot fight all of Arabia and therefore they must settle for blood money. And they said, what a phenomenal plan. So they sent all their youth and they say to Ali ibn Abi Talib, oh Ali, where is Muhammad? He says, Muhammad is not a young child. He is free to do as he wishes. Neither did you give him to me in trust that now I am supposed to return him to you. Go and find him. In this incident, 44 blades are waiting to cut the body of Muhammad. And Rasulullah looks to Ali and he says, oh Ali, will you sleep in my bed so that I can flee Mecca and fool these people? What does Ali say to him? He does not say, will I be killed or no. He says, Ya Rasulullah, will you live and will Islam be prosperous? And the Prophet said, indeed. He said, then I shall. And Ali recalls this incident. He says, by Allah, that was the best sleep I ever had in my life. Why? Because when he went to sleep, he was not afraid of the swords. He had entrusted his affairs absolutely to Allah and he had nobody to fear. At that moment, Allah in the heavens tells Jibreel, Gabriel and Michael, the two angels. He says, I have made every two individuals brothers in faith. I have made you, Gabriel and Michael, as brothers. And I made Ali and Muhammad as brothers. If I was to say to you two, Gabriel and Michael, would one of you give up your life so that the other may have a longer life? Who will make the sacrifice? Both of them refused, and these are angels, pure entities, selfless entities. Yet neither one of them wanted to sacrifice his life for his brother. So Allah says to them, descend to the house of Muhammad and see how Ali is sacrificing his life so that his brother Muhammad may live. Jibreel comes to the bed of Ali and he says, Bukhan Bukha ya ibn Abi Talib. Glad tidings, O the son of Abu Talib. Indeed, Allah is praising you in the heavens and in the earth. Such is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Selfless in everything that he does. Ready to render service to the religion of Rasulullah. Before prophethood, during prophethood, and tomorrow inshallah we will see how he rendered service to this religion after prophethood. Constantly selfless. Constantly striving. Putting the affairs not of God and his messenger before himself. No. He did that, but he also put before him the emancipation of humanity. And I will tell you of one incident with the salawat ala Muhammadin wa alihi. You see, one day Imam Ali was walking, and along with him were some companions. And they happened to go past a church. And when he went past this church, you know, like the hymns and the choirs, they were coming out of the church. So these so-called companions, and history later on testifies to the level of their ignorance and greed, yet somehow they are decorated as the champions of this religion. These so-called companions turn around and they say, we are astonished about the level of blasphemy being committed behind the walls of that church. So Imam Ali smiles. He says, but rather I am astonished at the level of sincerity, at the level of piety, and at how God is being worshipped in the most beautiful of forms behind the walls of those church. The only difference between them and us is that they have good examples, whereas when I look around me, I do not see good examples. The people of Christianity and Judaism and Hinduism and whatever, they do worship God sincerely. And they make mockery of the Muslims, and unfortunately they have every right to do so. Because when you bring forward people like Osama bin Laden, and when you bring forward people like these terrorists in Syria, and the terrorists in Afghanistan, and you put them forward as the representatives of the religion of Muhammad, I do not blame a Christian and a Jew for holding the religion of Muhammad in contempt. But you see, the only thing necessary for evil to succeed is when good people do nothing. Islam is 2 billion plus people. Yet we, the Muslims, have rendered ourselves null. We were too busy seeking a better livelihood. We are going to work and university, and we are not making an effort to represent ourselves. And we left the monkeys that Rasulullah said on his day. He said, there shall come a time when the monkeys will sit on my pulpit. These individuals such as Osama are nothing but monkeys. Religion for them is nothing but game and play. We left them to represent the religion of Muhammad. We left them to go out and put an extreme ideology as the ideology of Muhammad. And we sat back and we were complacent. We who subscribe to the way of Ali should be relentless like Ali ibn Abi Talib. We should fight not the Christian and the Jew, but we should fight the likes of Osama bin Laden, not with a sword but with paper and pen. We must educate the people that are being misled, and we must make a positive representation of this true and noble religion so that the world can no longer hold it in contempt, but they can hold it in praise and say, what a beautiful religion is the religion of Muhammad. We do not ask people to become Muslims. We only ask them to respect the religion like we respect their religion. Ali was relentless, and Ali gave nobody the opportunity to bring any kind of foul name to the religion of Muhammad, because he worked hard to give it a good name. And likewise, we must be like Ali. This is what we have lost, and this is what we mourn. We mourn the true ideals of a religion that is no different to the religions that came before it. Its only purpose is the emancipation of mankind, to make sure that we all have equal rights. We all can go to work and come back feeling safe and sound. We do not need to worry about someone breaking into our homes, terrorizing our families. We do not need to worry that one day I may be at work and 2 airplanes come crashing into a building and I have lost my family and loved ones and they have lost me. I should not need to fear any of this. I should be able to be free in every sense of the word. That is what we lost. And that is what Ali gave humanity. But unfortunately, there were people that did not appreciate this. And they did not like this. And the first people that were to mourn Ali were the downtrodden people. Let us dim out the lights as we recollect the final moments, these memories, and try to understand the level of sorrow that we should be feeling on these nights, and try to understand who we lost. They say that when Imam Ali was wounded, the sword was soaked in poison for 3 days and 3 nights. And when Ali was struck on his holy head, the poison seeped into his blood. And the poison was so intense that the bandage around his head was made of yellow fabric. Imam Hassan says, when I looked at the face of my father Ali, I could not tell which was more yellow, his face or the cloth.